April 25th, 2018.
Morning, everybody.
California authorities hold a press conference more than 4 decades in the making. After a 44-year investigation and 8,000 suspects, officials announced the notorious Golden State Killer has been caught.
We all knew, as part of this team, that we were looking for a needle in a haystack. We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
Although he awaits trial and has not been convicted, that needle, according to prosecutors, is a retired mechanic and, of all things, a former police officer named Joseph James DeAngelo, found living quietly in a Sacramento suburb. The 72-year-old grandfather, they say, is the monster who terrorized California in the 70s and 80s with a one-man crime spree.
There were upwards of 50 rapes, 12 murders, crimes that spanned 10 years across at least 10 different counties.
Police believe he crisscrossed California while committing his alleged crimes, earning names like the Visalia Ransacker, the East Area Rapist, and the original Night Stalker.
Joseph James DeAngelo has been called a lot of things by law enforcement. Today, it's our pleasure to call him defendant.
For everybody at that moment in time, it was surreal. I mean, if you think about it, the magnitude of the case, the number of years, and the fact of finally getting an answer was surreal for many folks.
Joseph DeAngelo's arrest was possible thanks in large part to former cold case investigator Paul Holes, now retired from the Contra Costa DA's office. Holes hunted the Golden State Killer for more than 20 years and was crucial in identifying DeAngelo as the prime suspect.
I was working this case 24/7, 365. I'd be home in the evenings working this case. I'm working on the weekends. I'm waking up in the middle of the night and getting on my computer because I had a thought.
Detective Holes will be my guide as I follow in the footsteps of the accused to discover how Joseph DeAngelo lived and how he allegedly raped and killed. I'll travel the same roads, visit the same towns, meet the people who knew DeAngelo better than most, some of them speaking out for the first time. I'll uncover new details about the man everyone thought they knew. Like most everyone else, I got my first real look at Joseph DeAngelo during his arraignment.
Your Honor, on the 130 calendar, page 2, in custody, DeAngelo.
Where he sat in a wheelchair, looking frail, confused, his voice barely a whisper.
Is Joseph James DeAngelo your true and correct legal name? I'm sorry? Yeah. Yes. Do you have a lawyer, Mr. DeAngelo? Can you afford one? Or are you asking the court to appoint you a lawyer? Did you not understand the question? I have. Shall be the order made for within 36 around the court. There's no vote.
The Joseph DeAngelo I saw in court stood in stark contrast to the violent crimes he's accused of committing in the 1970s and 80s.
He's presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's what this country stands for. We have the law that suggests that he is innocent until they prove him guilty.
At the time, the burglaries, rapes, and murders spread across northern, central, and southern California set off a wave of fear throughout the state.
Oh, I have to admit, I'm scared to death.
Don't know where he's going to hit next. We don't go to sleep very well at night.
I'm sleeping with my husband's hunting knife under the pillow.
This guy's going into a bedroom and waking a couple up in their bed and taking over that couple, and then separate the female out into a different room where he could sexually assault her. Gun sales went up. All of a sudden, people wanted deadbolts on their doors. There'd be citizen patrols that were starting to occur. Men would get together and just start wandering the neighborhood in groups, looking for guys that were out there prowling.
Police say DeAngelo committed his last known murder in 1986 and had remained under the radar until his April arrest. Married but estranged from his wife, he has 3 adult daughters and worked as a truck mechanic before retiring in 2017. To some of his co-workers at the Save Mart supermarket chain, he was considerate and generous.
What was your first reaction?
Totally shocked. I still can't believe it.
Damn, I've known this guy all this time, and I would have never guessed. The guy I know was, a nice guy.
I almost feel bad for being nice to the guy for the years that I've known him. You know, he's worn a mask. He's done it very well.
At the time of his arrest, he was living at his home with his daughter and granddaughter.
The apparent normalcy of his life otherwise is certainly different than what you might anticipate from a serial killer.
He could have seen his family as another way to hide from law enforcement, because it's really hard to arouse suspicion when you live in suburbia and you have 3 children and you have a wife and you seem to just have normal activity every day.
But police say there's nothing normal about Joseph DeAngelo, who's been charged with 12 counts of murder and has yet to enter a plea. Investigators also say he may be responsible for at least 50 rapes and more than 100 break-ins, although he hasn't been charged with those crimes. The crimes terrified Californians throughout the 70s and into the 80s. Then, after 1986, everything seemed to stop. In the years that followed, fear of the Golden State Killer began to subside. But did his crime spree really end?
What do you think the chances are that we're going to hear about potential other crimes in other places that we haven't heard?
I believe there will be other cases that are tied to this. I believe investigators all over California are looking into their cases.
We're not certain that he stopped in May of 1986. He may not have stopped then. He may be responsible for more. So we're seeking to make that determination during the course of the investigation.
Is it possible that someone that is accused of all of those things could just stop cold turkey?
Well, psychologists say no, but I think there's more than that. I just don't know. I don't know what goes on in his head.
It's one of the questions I will try to answer as we examine the life of the main suspect in the case of the Golden State Killer.